Welcome to the third video in the Middle School Money Matters series. This one is about budgeting. In the first two videos, we talked about the nature of money, what money is, and also how people earn money. This one, we're going to be talking about how people spend money. So what does the average Canadian household spend money on? Now, as a kid, usually most of your needs are taken care of by whoever it is that you live with. But as an adult, you have to decide what it is that you're going to spend that income on. What are your needs and what are your wants? These are the three fundamental needs. Everybody needs food to eat, something to wear, and somewhere to live. If you have these three things, then you can survive, right? But Canadians spend their money on a lot more than these three items. So what are some of the other things that the average household regularly spends money on? Communication. In this day and age, it's becoming increasingly difficult to get by without access to the internet or even a cell phone. So a lot of people would consider having a cell phone and having internet access as one of the needs in our ever complex society. Many people these days no longer even have a landline. Do you know what that is? One of those phones that's plugged into the wall? But there are other things that families need to spend money on in their house. There are utility payments for things like heat, electricity. Maybe you have to pay for water where you live, property taxes, insurance. All of these things are items that adults usually spend money on. Transportation is another big one. Now, maybe if you live in a small town, you can get by with walking around or riding a bike. But the more and more people who live in urban centers, at bare minimum, maybe have a bus or transit pass and possibly even have a vehicle of their own that they need to pay for. And entertainment. Life wouldn't be much fun if you didn't get out and get to go to a concert every now and then, or do something fun or have a hobby. All of these things cost money, and they're things that people spend money on. Maybe you're one of those lucky kids that gets to go on holidays to Mexico or go skiing, or maybe you're even into dancing and you take dance classes or piano lessons. These are all things that people spend money on, and the adults in your life perhaps spend money on them for you. And chances are they have budgeted for these items. Budgeting simply means that you're paying attention and keeping track of where your spending goes. It could be as simple as knowing how much comes into your account and sort of paying attention to how much money you spend out of your account. And it could get as complex as having a full spreadsheet with various categories with different amounts allotted to each category. Whatever your method of budgeting is, the most important thing is that you spend less than you earn. If you start spending more money than you're bringing in, that's when you're going to be going into debt, which can quickly spiral out of control and lead to things like bankruptcy. So budgeting is a process where a person or business looks at how much income, how much revenue they're bringing in, and how they're going to spend that. Now, some of the categories we just mentioned are the main household budgeting categories. Things like food, shelter or housing, clothes, transportation, communication, utilities and other bills. Those are all some of the main categories that people look at when they're starting to write down a household budget. Generally, what most people do is they focus on the needs first. You have to pay your rent or pay your mortgage. You have to buy food so that you can survive. You have to have clothes on your back. So those things get paid for first. Then, out of the wants category, you can start to divide up the money that's left over and decide which of those wants you're going to be buying at that time. Some people even create subcategories within the wants for wants now and wants in the future. Then, if something in the future is a little more expensive, you can save up for it over time. Perhaps you want to save up for a nice bike or a car. That's a want for the future, so you put a little bit of money away each month, saving up for it, and then when you have enough, you can go and buy it. So a simple household budget might look something like this. where you have 2 or 3 categories and you have things listed in each category and what each thing costs. You have the total amount of income listed somewhere, the categories of things that you're buying are totaled up, and you make sure that the amount of income is greater than the amount of expenses. So the goal as you work through the budgeting assignment is to sort of think about the things that you or your family spend money on and take a guess at how much you think these things cost on a monthly basis. And then as a class, you can all get together and have a little discussion and see how close you were. Don't worry if your guesses are way off. This is just a beginner budgeting activity. We'll get a little more complex a little bit further on in the course.